For this lecture, we'll be discussing community ecology. Community ecology revolves around community interactions. To better understand community ecology, we must first understand what a community is. A community is all the species that live in a given region. So this includes multiple populations interacting together. Communities exist in a wide range of forms and can be layered upon one another. This is an example of a bacteria. This particular bacteria lives inside a termite. This is a community of bacteria that interact within their ecosystem, which happens to be a termite. The termite itself is part of another community. That is the community that lives on top of this log. That community is in turn involved in an even bigger community. This log is a part of an even wider ecosystem that involves the whole forest around it. So communities can be layered upon each other. However, when dealing with community, the most important theme is how do these populations interact? And so we must examine symbiosis. Symbiosis is a close and long-term relationship between two or more different species. And it comes in 5 different types or categories. There's mutualism, commensalism, parasitism, predator-prey, and competition. Mutualism is a symbiotic relationship in which both species benefit from the interaction. Examples of mutualism would be a clownfish and a sea anemone. The sea anemone provides protection for the clownfish, while the clownfish provides food and other resources for the sea anemone. Mutualism, or even symbiotic relationships in general, don't just occur between animal and animal interactions. Here's a good example of a mutualistic relationship between an animal and a plant. The bee gets what it needs to make royal jelly from the plant. In return, the bee provides a means for cross-pollination for the plant. Both organisms in this relationship benefit. The next type of relationship is commensalism. And this is a relationship in which one species benefits and the other species is neither harmed nor helped. Example of commensalism would be this barnacle on top of this whale. A barnacle on a whale does not affect the whale one way or the other. However, being on the whale provides an advantage for this barnacle. The whale introduces this barnacle to new feeding areas that it would normally not see. And so the barnacle is benefited while the whale is neither harmed nor helped. Another example would be these air plants. These air plants must get high up in the canopy in order to photosynthesize. And so they attach themselves to the barks of tall trees. The tall trees are not affected by this air plant. However, the tree gives the air plant an advantage of getting more sunlight. So the air plant is helped while the tree is neither harmed nor helped. The next relationship is parasitism. And this is where one species benefits and the other species is harmed but not usually killed. Examples of parasites include ticks. When a tick gets on an animal, it removes nutrients that would otherwise go towards that animal's metabolic needs. So the tick is benefited and the animal is harmed, but the tick doesn't ultimately kill the animal. The next relationship are predator-prey relationships. These are relationships in which one organism hunts and kills another for nutrition. Examples you're pretty familiar with are things like a snake eating a frog. Now, the thing about predator-prey relationships is they often end in what is called coevolution. This is evolution that occurs when a predator and prey item exert selection pressures on one another. The last symbiotic relationship is competition. Competition occurs when 2 or more organisms compete for the same resources. Competition results in both organisms exerting energy that could otherwise be used for things like reproduction. This means that both organisms involved in the competition lose out. Competition can occur between either organisms of the same species, which is called intraspecific competition, or it can occur between organisms of a different species, which is considered interspecific competition. Either way, competition increases as resources decrease. When items such as food become scarce, the competition for those items becomes fierce. Which brings me to something called competitive exclusion. This is where two different species are competing for the same resource. One species will outmaneuver the other species and completely wipe them out. This is considered competitive exclusion. However, sometimes when you have two different species competing for the same resource, neither one of them can gain an advantage, and a stalemate occurs. That stalemate is referred to as resource partitioning, where each species takes up a different area of the same resource. You often see this in trees. Any one of these birds could possibly occupy this entire tree. So this entire tree could possibly be these birds' fundamental niche. But because of competition, these birds have had to resource partition this tree. These birds took up this area, these birds took up this area, and these birds took up this area. This is referred to as their realized niche. The fundamental niche is the possible entire niche that they could occupy. The realized niche is what they're actually left with after competition. This has been community, ecology, and symbiotic relationships. I hope this was helpful.